Hello and welcome to Yawgmoth Soap Opera, episode 162, Games People Play. I am Josh, aka Cornin, and I am here with Zach, aka Abstract66, and we have a special guest, my greatest pal, delightful David. You have no game.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hello from
Hello.
Germany.
Yeah,
It's
so
3:30 in the morning here, so
on
we
a
better
thir-
deliver some content.
on a Friday morning / Thursday evening.
An
Yeah,
early
but
night for you.
but it's a holiday here, so
Oh,
it's not a big deal.
Well,
Unterdunkfest?
No, it's it's pretty much the day of work or the day of workers.
what?
Like
Labor Day?
probably something like that.
Laborers?
Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know.
Well, that sounds exciting.
That's exciting.
What do we have in the show today, Zach?
Well, today we're all going to go over our individually computed and put together lists of our personal picks for the top 5 underutilized cards in Vintage. Secondarily, we're going to talk about the daily events from the last 2 weeks that we've missed. As you guys might have noticed, we missed a week. We kind of took some time off. I didn't even play in any Vintage dailies, so it's not like I was getting busy and it was going crazy, going off the wall. It was kind of a little time that we had to ourselves, and we're going to make up for it this week with a lot of content with our buddy David, aka You Have No Game, and of course your regular hosts Zach and Josh. So let's jump right in, guys.
Wonderful. You want to start with your top 5 list?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I quickly put this together, and these aren't necessarily cards that I want to play or anything else. These are just cards that I'm surprised after hearing, especially paper players run their yaps about how strong especially certain cards were. These cards really aren't making an impact right now, and I think 2 of them specifically were making an impact until very recently. So here's my list. I started with Dark Ritual, which is, I mean, I think you can almost speak to the fact that stacks is such a large part of the metagame as the reason why that's not being played right now. But when you refer to a card as a pillar of format,
Vintage.
I mean, and I never see it played. There are probably less than 8 copies per daily total, guaranteed. So I mean, I don't think you can really say I think people need to take that out of the word pillar. I think they need to put this on the sideline and say it was fun in '98.
Why are you surprised that it doesn't have a bigger impact though?
No,
I mean,
because
with all the missteps and Sears running around.
I'm not surprised that it doesn't. I am surprised it doesn't have a bigger impact because I heard so much about it, and all these people who are just so strong proponents of Storm and paper, and the fact that they don't have the chutzpah to run it online. I think it's despicable. I think Dark Ritual is heavily underutilized, and if not for the Doomsday deck, I don't think it'd be being played at all.
Well, the big difference is people can actually afford to buy a Mishra's Workshop online.
Well, agree.
Yeah, it's only like 6 or 7 tickets compared to $300 or something in paper.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Well, next up I had another card, and really this is in no order. This is just 5 that came to me, and this next one, I'm just surprised we don't see more of it. Even with Deck Fade running around, I'm surprised, and that's Tinker. Not many decks run it.
You can only play what though?
Right, but how many decks even run one? That's my point. Does Mentor run it? Does Delver run it?
Well, a couple of mentor lists run it.
Really,
So-
really rarely. I mean, it's like the Juggler is like the only one.
Yeah. And
So
people
the
will copy
ones
that
that-
list.
The ones that money less often do have Tinker in them.
Right. I mean, I have not seen a lot of Tinkers, and
Well,
that's my point.
I guess decks are just too streamlined to run Tinker because they only run 2 or 3 Moxes now. I mean, the days are pretty much over when decks always ran like all the 5 Moxes.
Agree.
Now they're often just running 2 or 3.
Well, the next card I wanted to mention runs right alongside Tinker, and that's Yawgmoth's Will. It's another one of those cards that I thought would have such a it's a card that if I know it's in your deck, I'm so scared of it the whole time. I'm so scared of it. I'm like, does he have it? Do I need to keep my death rights untapped? I mean, how do I need to play this? You know what I mean? It's a card that always has me on edge. But again, like Tinker, I think it may be the variance factor, and decks are so streamlined, unless it's a Storm deck that's going to be running that Dark Ritual, they're not going to be running it. What do you guys think?
Yes, I agree. It's pretty useless in a deck where all your cards are 4-0s.
Well, again, there are maybe a few mentor lists that maybe run Yawgmoth's Will.
Really?
But
I've never seen a mentor list that runs Yawgmoth.
well, I've seen one, but it was from Chubby Rain,
Oh,
and he beat the shit out of me with it. So,
Well,
but still, yeah. Otherwise, you're pretty much right. But it's dying as much as the decks dying that run all the 5 Moxes.
well, my fourth card on the list was another one of these cards that was actually considered a pillar for a long time, and I mean, you and I personally, both of you guys, we've talked about building this into our list, and I think we all kind of come to a consensus. Even if you're playing a blue list, you don't want to play more than one, and that's Mana Drain. I mean, there's a whole community named after this card. It was so popular at one point, right?
yeah, I love Mana Drain. I have it on my list as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised it's weaker, but I mean, they even removed Mana Burn.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine playing during the old days of Vintage when you drained something like a Gash or whatever, and then you went to your turn and you couldn't use the mana for anything.
It's crazy.
Well, and like nowadays, if it was ever going to be good, it's when everyone's casting 8-mana spells all the time. You have unlimited mana to do whatever you want then next
Yeah,
turn.
but often even if they get to counter a dig through time, they still often just untap, get the 8 mana, and pass the
And do
turn.
nothing, yeah. Because
Yeah.
no deck right now is built to even use Mana Drain, so there's no reason why they would run Mana Drain. It's just the same as Counterspell.
Well, my last card on my list is, I guess you can call it kind of a cheat. It's another one of those singletons, but it's the card Fast Bond. Not a lot of deck. I guess the Doomsday lists run it, but outside of that, it's just not a card that has a very big impact, and I think its impact was overstated. I think that's safe to unrestrict, to be honest. I think it's kind of a poop card.
Yeah, I don't even know how many you'd want in your deck.
Well, I mean, the problem is that more copies of Fastbone are always redundant, so
Yeah, imagine
when you
having
have one, yeah, when you have
two
one in play,
Fast Bonds in your hand.
yeah, and you draw into more. On the other hand, though, right now it's very likely that if you try to play a fast bond, it just gets misstepped anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's my list. Let's go ahead and go to let's David. Let's have you go next. What's your top 5?
Oh, getting 5 cards together is actually pretty hard because, well, you asked me for cards that surprise me, don't have a bigger impact, but just getting to a list of 5 cards that would surprise me is already pretty hard because you have to think of all the possible archetypes. And right now, I think that Vintage is pretty stale, actually, with shops and Gash decks or Gash dig decks as pretty much the top contenders. But there's nothing in the 3rd spot or something. There are a couple of decks that may contend, but I don't know, they seem to be more random. Still, the card that I'm most surprised is not seeing much play is Engineer Plague. I mean, of course, it doesn't only fit into black decks. I mean, there are a lot of decks running black. Actually, most decks just run black for Demonic and Vampiric Tutor anyway. So, unless they fear Wasteland, which they don't have to, they could board in a couple of Engineered Plagues. And I think Plague is a much more, or is a much better solution to tokens and to davers and small creatures in general than, for example, the 1 mana enchantment that only gives -1 to tokens.
Right.
Because I had an opponent play that against me and it was like, cool, I mean, I don't even have to misstep that. I better keep my misstep for something threatening because I still have my 2-1 and my 2-1 is enough to beat you in 10 turns. If I have a counterspell each turn and some card draw to refill, I don't really need the tokens and also it can get misstepped. And Plague is just pretty much a game over card. I mean, most Daver decks don't have an answer to it. And even Mentor gets pretty much crippled to kind of Equirian Dryad that only grows for a turn.
Right.
The card that surprises me the most is not played at all, or only played in very few decks and just one or two copies.
Right.
Problem is, it hurts most decks that
And I have to say that
are
in the last
not
weeks,
playing it.
huh?
The problem is, it hurts most decks that aren't playing it. Like, you couldn't add black to your Delver deck and play Engineered Plague because you'd be killing your own guys.
No, yeah, but you don't play it in Endeavor deck. You play it in something like Grixis Control or Doomsday or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Just so that you have more time to assemble whatever you try to do.
Right. I agree with that call. I mean, I think Engineered Plague's a pretty good example.
Yeah, and what I also wanted to say is that in the last weeks, or I'm not sure if that is still the case, but in the last weeks, I think we've seen quite a resurgence of back decks. Not only Uzak doing well with Berg, but also some people like what's his name, Gizitzi,
Yeah.
playing back, and other people playing back, and other people playing your deck, and still there aren't big numbers of Engineered Plague, except for the people who copy your deck one for one.
Well, yeah, and one of the biggest
Eh, eh,
things
eh.
that surprised me was LSV in his list. When he basically took my main deck, he switched like 2 cards out of it, but his sideboard was so weird. It was like an Elvish Spirit Guide, and he took out 2 Plagues and added one of the 1-mana -1/-1 counterspell. I'm like, what the... Dude! It was bad. His sideboard was bad.
The thing is, how many games have we ended just by playing a Plague?
Yeah, exactly, a lot. And playing Dever myself, I can tell you that, I started running Wear Terror so I could fight it, because otherwise, either I have the Force of Will, or I don't. And
Yeah.
often I don't, and
You either have the counter or you're dead.
Yeah.
yeah, and the card that's second on my list is another card that naturally fits the back shell, and that is Dark Confident. I mean, again, surprise it's not the correct word, because the draw engine of Gush and Dig Through Time and
Treasure
the 1-mana
Cruise.
cantrips and Treasure Cruise,
Yeah.
it's just way stronger and not really compatible with with Confident because 8 mana
Right.
costs,
You can't play both.
which
So
is
you'd
really
just rather
stupid.
play Dig.
But on the other hand, I think that Confident is good of a metagame right now because a lot of people switch to Mentor, and Mentor is only running Swords to Plowshares, which is, I think, better against back than Lightning Bolt. Well, I guess they run Snapcaster Mage? I guess sometimes. But I think most Mentor decks are only running 1 or 2 swords, compared to Dever, which ran like 4 spot removal at least. Plus they used to run Snapcaster Mage.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's Dark Confidant's a really good card, and I think we all kind of lament the fact that it's not.
Yeah, what I just wanted to say was that there now is less spot removal in the metagame than, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. And that it should see more play, but I guess there's just no real backlist for it.
Yeah, I think if you play Dark Confidant, it's more like, this sounds weird, but it's more like a Tarmogoyf list. Like, you want small beaters, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to play like
you can't even-
Tasigur and...
Yeah, you can't even play Tasigur with Dark Confident.
It really, like, the shell for Black, Blue, Green has changed so much with the advent of Dig and Treasure Cruise, because the problem is exactly what you said, and that's something that we all addressed even before we put together the Tasigur list, and that is, if you want to play with the blue decks, you have to have an engine that can at least compete.
Yeah, the days of small incremental advantage being good enough, being like grindy, don't work as well anymore. You need to
that's
be
the
able
problem.
to. You need to be able to go just as crazy as them and still deal with their threats.
Yeah, Confident needs to sit and play for 3 straight turns, or you need to untap with it and play 3 straight turns, which is a lot in Vintage, just to
Right.
draw 3 cards. And other decks just do a gash to draw 2 cards, and then they preordain, which is like drawing another card, kind of like finding another dig through time or whatever, and just starting an insane chain that even after your opponent has drawn 3 or 4 cards of a Confident, can still easily be stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad. Poor Dark.
Yeah, my number 3 on the list is the new Narset Planeswalker, a card that has been spoken about before the set came out, but since the set came out, no one ever dared to try it.
Well, I have
never.
seen one. I've seen one. Dude, hold on. There's
Okay.
actually one in our list. We'll go through it today, I think. But somebody's been running a singleton and a mentor list.
Okay, cool. I mean, I don't think that it's a good card by itself. I think that, if you could run a Planeswalker, deck or Jace are just the more solid calls.
Or even Dak.
Yeah. What did I say?
Oh, I thought you said Tez or Jace.
Yeah, I mean deck and Jace, whatever. Yeah, because Narset has this variance factor attached to it. Unless you do have something like a Senseless Divining Top, there's no control over the top card, and often you're just hitting a land or whatever, and it doesn't deal anything.
Yeah, and it's a weird card too. It costs, the 2 different colors of mana. It's like you said, it's very conditional.
It's very conditional. It's only fitting into a very restricted kind of list like Mentor.
It does have a crap ton of loyalty though. It's like 6 loyalty to start, and then you put it to 7 right away, or something crazy like that.
Yeah. You can even use the minus ability and still be out of bolt range with it.
Yeah, the minus ability is also quite weird because most spells in most decks are counter spells.
Yeah, exactly. Rebounding a
Or draw
Thoughtseize.
spells.
Rebounding a Thoughtseize sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of spells that are interesting rebound, but it's more like Magical Christmas Land.
Yeah, agree.
My number 4 on the list is actually Dabber of Secrets. The deck has definitely declined, and it's declining even more in the last weeks.
Really?
It's definitely doing that, yeah. There's, just a couple of weeks ago, Dabber was still like the best deck, and I remember the days when Dabber was like 20% of the metagame, and Shops was like 18, and Mentor was like 4 or 5. Mentor was really struggling in its early
Really
days.
small, yeah.
And now Mentor is the most played deck, followed by Shops, followed by Dabber.
I don't really understand that at all.
Mentors are good against the Pyromancers, but I'm surprised Mentor lists don't ever play Delver.
I've already seen a couple of Mentor lists playing Dabber, but
it's not that common, though.
Some of them never did well.
It seems mediocre at best. I mean, I don't like the idea of making you're already running a lot more Moxes than a traditional Delver list is going to run. You're going to have things like Soul Ring in there. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with Delver in the Mentor shell. I almost feel like you'll want even more card draw.
Yeah, and my number 5 card is a suggestion made by Zach, and it's Thoughtseize. Thanks, Zach, for that.
Yeah.
Thoughtseize is an interesting card to talk about. What makes Thoughtseize interesting right now for me is that it's able to take a Mentor.
Yep.
I mean, you can handle a Mentor before it comes into play, and if you're on the play, you might be able to destroy the Nut Hand of your opponent.
Well, there's a lot. I like that. And another thing I like about Thoughtseize is it's one of the few aggressive cards. Like usually when you have an answer card, it's you have to wait for them to play something, and they have to get their mana, and they have to get there. And the cool thing about Thoughtseize, in addition to you being proactive and doing something on your turn 1 all the time if you have one, you also get to make people give people the option of making terrible decisions. Some people will force your card. If they have one good card and a force, and you want to take that good card, some people will literally pitch that good card to the force just to make sure you can't play that Thoughtseize and see their hand. I mean, people do crazy things if you leave them to their own devices. So I like Thoughtseize in that regard.
Yeah, that's another interesting point about Thoughtseize. Just gaining the information, what they have in hand, is worth a lot. I mean, sometimes just knowing that your opponent could potentially go up the next turn. Just keep something like an island tapped, and they will start playing around something like you have the information, they have the information, but while your information is complete, theirs is incomplete. It's like you take some probe that while it doesn't draw you a card, takes one of their cards out.
Yeah, and usually like getting a dig or something like that is no.
Yeah, I mean, getting the best card. I mean, just imagine against something like Shops. I mean, Misstep is a pretty bad card against Shops, but if you thought system on turn 1, you might destroy their whole curve.
Yeah, or take a Lodestone when they have just like no business, just nothing.
When they have no business, just a couple of steers, and then you're able to rebuild because you get a couple of turns with them drawing air.
Yep.
Get your Trigon out and do your damage.
Well, yeah, that's my top 5 list. So, what's yours, Josh?
My first one is Time Vault.
Or
That's
Time Vault.
interesting. Where is Time Vault?
Time Vault is gone.
I see a lot of decks still playing Time Vault, especially some mentor decks. Probably all jungle is. Whatever.
Yeah, it's that juggler list with Tinker.
Yeah.
But it almost never beats you. And in that same vein, my number 2 is Tezzeret. And that was a whole deck type. Was
Yeah, Tezzeret is like, just has been vanished or something.
yeah,
Like, I haven't seen Tezzeret in months doing well.
I know. I haven't seen Big Tez at all. I played a little smaller Tez, but I'm crazy.
Your number 3 is Thalia?
Number 3 is Blightsteel.
Poor Blightsteel.
He's
But yeah, it's like saying Tinker. So,
yeah, he's just too vulnerable to deck fading, but I mean, he kills you so quickly. So yeah, I agree with the whole Tinkerbot line.
Poor.
to be fair, I don't think that any of the cards you mentioned is really underplayed. I mean, maybe Dark Ritual, but not Tinker and not the Robot. If they would be underplayed, I wouldn't die to them so often in the last weeks.
Yeah, but you're not as good as us.
Probably,
My
yeah.
fourth one was Mana Drain, we already talked about. And my fifth one is Null Rod. I'm surprised we don't see more Null Rods.
Well, I guess with people playing less mana drains and less moxes, just makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
the problem is that Null Rod is not really good against Dabber and Mentor, and even against Shops. I mean, Shops play their mana like in the first turn or second turn, and
But
excel over a Golem, and after that it's pretty useless. I mean, you can shut off the 3/5 Tinker Boy, call it a Forge Master.
I guess my question, though, David, is something you just said. Was you said, well, less people are playing Mox. And really? I mean, doesn't Mentor play way more than Delver did, and that's way more popular? And Shops
Dude.
is playing all the Moxes.
Wait, so
I think
first,
Mentor usually plays 3, though.
yeah, Mentor plays like 2 or 3, same like Dabber.
But they
Or
play
five.
Soul Ring, right? And Mana Crypt.
Sometimes. I
Yeah,
don't know.
sometimes. I mean, I think Soul Ring is pretty much always in, but Mana Crypt is not always in.
I think
So
they only play Mana
it's-
Crypt if they have the Tinker in.
It's a very, very small advantage. And I mean, you even shut off your own mana artifacts.
Yeah, I just think,
And,
Wasteland is still very good in the format, and if you've got those two things on lock, like, occasionally you can lock out a Delver deck. You played an
against Shops,
experiment last night, Zach,
Yeah.
and I think we locked out Delver twice, at least,
With what?
with Wasteland last night. And,
Oh, yeah.
You
That's
think about having a Null Rod on the table as well, and they wouldn't even have Moxen as a...
Well, the thing
Isn't
is, Delver players are interesting because even though they play only like 14, 15 lands, if they preordain, if you've ever played against a Delver player, unless you're David and you kind of know what you're doing and you're trying to find the lands because you know what you're playing against, a lot of
Oh
people
yeah, they
will
don't
just
keep land.
they just look for other spells. They're like, I'm going to play preordain. I'm going to throw my lands away and look for more spells. And like, you can wasteland somebody and they're like, oh crap, you know what I mean? And that deck doesn't run a lot, so I don't know.
Yeah, what I wanted to say about Shops and their Moxes is, well, I mean, if Shops gets to play their Moxes, they use them on turn 1 anyway to excel into Lodestone or Sears or whatever. And after that point, I mean, yes, you just pointed out, Null Rod coupled with Wastelands is pretty good. But otherwise, it's quite mediocre. And I mean, sometimes Shops even plays Null Rod themselves. And even if they have a Mox or two, they don't draw cards. They draw 1 card a turn. Chances are not likely that they hit another Mox.
Whatever, David. Well, those are my 5.
I like them.
I think they're all lovely cards. I'm going to build a deck out of them. They seem to all go together. No, not Null Rod.
Or Null Rod.
Time Vault, Tezzeret, Blightsteel, and Mana Drain. I think that's a deck right there.
I used to play Null Rod a lot in the early days of Vintage or Magic Online when people, played a lot of Grixis and
Back when
whatever.
Golrod was expensive?
No. It was already when VMA came out. So, like after 1 or 2 days of VMA, it was like down to 1 or 2 tickets.
Right.
Yep.
Talking
Never
about
got it,
VMA, the prices never recovered. I mean, it's been nearly a year now. I think it's 11 months. It came out last year in June, right?
Yeah, I think it was right in the beginning of June.
Yeah, so pretty much 11 months now, and yeah, I'm surprised that prices are that low and that they never recovered.
Yeah,
Whoa, what are you talking about, man? There's
130 ticks Lotus. That's pretty cheap for Lotus, I think. I mean, a paper one is like how many $1,000? 3, 4?
so crazy. Well,
I mean, a Mox Emerald costs a full $21.97.
Yeah, full 21. Like, let me think of something. Like, what is a Mox Opal?
like 50.
It has no Mox Opal twice of a Mox Emerald.
Yeah, it's crazy. But with that, we have a lot of dailies to get through today, so we're going to go ahead and hop into the first one. And it looks like the first one was one of the Nordic gentlemen, Hedmonsen.
Yep.
And he was playing Delver. And I think maybe David can speak about this list. Is this pretty standard?
Oh, we went with the Staticaster.
1 second.
Remember when I
let me
told
look
you
at
to
it.
play that card, Zach?
Oh, he's got the Staticaster on the sideboard.
Yeah, it's pretty much a standard list, playing Strip Mine and the counter suit of 2 Flasters, 2 Spapiers, 3 Pyroblast. Well, pretty much the one that I established.
You are a professional Delver player for sure.
Sure. Well, I definitely don't agree with this sideboard. I mean, Staticasters. I don't know. I mean, it can just be bolted and blasted, and that makes it quite weak as an answer. And
Whatever.
Shattering Spree is a card that I never really understood. I mean, this deck runs how many red sources? Like 5 or 6 if you count the Mox. So against Chops you need to have at least 2 if you want to copy it. Plus you need at least another land, or probably even 2 more lands, to cast the original copy of Shattering Spree.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just way too expensive for what it does. Just to get 1 or 2 artifacts at 4 mana, hopefully at 4 mana, you never know.
I'm I'm surprised how light you guys go on the graveyard hate.
That's why they lose to Dredge.
Well, the thing about Dredge is it's either 5 or 6 cards. I don't think it makes a big difference. You have to mulligan down to them, and sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't.
I've never seen you mulligan to Dredge hit.
What?
You always just you're like, well, I've got a really weird hand. I've got a Pyromancer and
Dude, you're talking.
And a recall.
I've got a Recall and a Pyromancer, though.
Well, I think it was a mulligan to 5 or something. I usually mulligan down to 6 or 5 at least. I mean, I would probably keep a 6 hand without hate, but an ancestral.
Look at this wild deck that Chubby
Also,
Rain plays.
I run what's it called? The Containment Priest. That's a card that Dredge usually can't beat.
Poor Containment Priest.
Yeah, Chubby Rain is playing the deck that he's famous for, that he beat LSV in the last round of the first Vintage Champs with on Magic Online to make top 8. Well, obviously back then without Mentor.
No, didn't he have a Wizard Cycler in there?
Yeah, he had a Wizard Cycler in there, but it's still. I'm talking about Magus of the Future. You know, I mean, who runs Magus of the Future but him, right?
Nobody.
See,
It's an impressive list.
I don't know how it works, because we tried it, and every time I did, I would see counter spells on the top with mages. I'd be like, what? God dang it, that's a force of will. I can't do anything with that on the top of my list.
either a counterspell or a land.
Yeah.
It was like, play a land, okay, another land. Great card.
But hey, Chubby does really well with it. So it's also ridiculously hard to cast unless you're heavy on the blue.
But yeah, otherwise it's the same list. He even has the Helm of Awakening in it.
Yep. So he can go nuts with his Sensi tops.
Ooh, and he runs 3 Containment Priests in the sideboard like that.
He's rich.
Yeah, he's super rich. The card is like 40 or 45 tickets right now. It's definitely expensive. But yeah, that's a card that, if you can manage to get it into play against Dredge by turn 1 or 2. I mean, what does your Dredge opponent have to play at that point? Maybe a Bloodgust, maybe a Narcomoeba, maybe 1 or 2 zombie tokens at best?
Seems good.
It's pretty hard to start an aggressive route from there on if, well, all you have is 2 2/2s.
Well, I guess he has a tiny bit more hate because I guess he can bring in the Needle, the EE, the Torment,
And you can find them with
Trinket.
Trinket Mage, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, third is Gisitsi, who I mentioned earlier with a back.
Your best friend.
Yeah, my best friend.
This list is much closer to a Dark Confidant list than most of them are.
Surprisingly, though, he's not running Dark Confident. Or don't I see it?
Nope, he's not. But he does have the Goifs and stuff. And
Oh yeah, he's running Thick Through Time. Yeah, he actually changed his deck. He was running Confident a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now he's running the Dig and Treasure Cruise engine.
I guess it just didn't seem strong enough. And I tried Dark Confidant a few weeks ago, and I agree, it wasn't strong enough.
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing about this list that would make me sad is the lack of deck fading.
Yeah.
I mean, deck fading in this format is so good right now.
I'm also surprised he doesn't go the 4-color route and instead plays 4 Spell Pierce. I mean, count
Spell Pierce is bad.
Yeah, so many countless situations. I mean, Endeavor, I'm pretty much forced to run it just because, some people run Seers and Oath of Druids that you can't counter with a Pyroblast or a Flusterstorm.
Right.
That's the only reason I run Spell Pierce, but I agree, Spell Pierce is so inferior to any other counter spell. People just
Any
always
other
have the extra 2
counterspell?
mana.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's some pretty bad counter spells.
I mean, games usually go long and people play a lot of lands, and I mean, I guess he plays the 5 Wastelands, which makes it quite better.
You should play Days.
I'm still not really sure.
I think Days is better than
Without
Spell
Confident, I think he can definitely run Thoughtseize. I think Thoughtseize is. I think being proactive with Bug is not a bad idea.
Agree. Next up, we have Austin DZ2 playing his deck that he is very
Well, one
David,
thing,
you have no Tolio about his
yeah.
deck he plays.
One thing I want to mention about the previous deck though is Snap out of the sideboard.
Yes, it's impressive.
That's like Snap out is what's it called? A pet peeve of I think Italian and Spanish people. I'm not even kidding. They always run a couple of them in their sideboard, and I never really understood it. I mean, yeah, it kills the Lodestone Golem at a low cost, but I don't know. 4 life is just so much.
It is.
Less than 5.
Yeah. Okay. Austin Z 2.
Austin DZ2, it looks like, is playing.
DZ, yeah.
You want to take this one, David?
Yeah, he's playing another Devilist. Again, pretty much standard at this time with a green splash for a Dragon Predator.
Which you gave up on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Dragon is just too expensive at 3 mana. And the white splash has served me quite well. Even though I have to say that
Sulfur
every
Elemental in the sideboard, and he
Yeah.
wrecked me one day with Sulfur Elemental.
poor Sulfur Elemental. I mean, Sulfur Elemental is an interesting card that after your opponent played Mentor, you can use it to destroy all of his tokens. But it doesn't handle the Mentor itself unless you get another copy out, and this deck only runs 1. So there's no second copy anyway. And the other problem is that Mentor itself is, while it's a good card, it's not really the problem. The draw engine was a problem, so if they just keep drawing more cards, they will eventually find an answer to Sulfur Elemental and Swords to Plowshares or whatever, and just start again.
This next list from Backbreaker is one that I want to hear your opinion on, David, because I do not like it at all. The 2 mentor list.
Well, I guess with True Mentor, you're just going hardcore control and just hope that your opponent doesn't run Sudden Shock or something. Or Soulfire Elemental. This
Yeah.
deck also only runs 1 Swords to Plowshares, 1 Repeal. Let me look at the sideboard.
It's not like he has that many counter spells.
And a Supreme. He has like 4 total outs to Soulfire Elemental, and I'm not sure. Well, I guess he might board in Supreme Verdict against Dabber, even though that's I don't know.
And he
Really
kills his own
awkward.
guys anyways.
I mean, don't they play Gash to return lands to their hand? Do they ever want to reach 4 mana?
Supreme
Well, I mean-
Verdict? What are we... Whoa.
Yeah, we're talking about the mentor list of Backbreaker, but he's also running the whole package of Moxes.
Why would you ever run... Supreme Verdict? Really?
I guess that's his answer to Mentor, just to make sure that an opposing Mentor dies.
Play Balance.
That can be countered.
Oh, I guess if you want to play 2 blue, a white, and a colorless, then you can do that.
Yeah, that's his plan, dude. That's why he does that. I'm not saying that it's good, you piece.
Well,
So
that's that event.
daily.
The scary thing is that was only 5 guys, and that took us a solid hour to get through. Let's go ahead and hop on to the next one.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
see
there's
how we're
always a
going
lot
to
to
get
say
through all
about
of them.
decks.
The next one
But-
is... Oh, I remember this event. This was David's favorite event he was ever in. Oh my god. Islet
Oh,
went 4-0.
you are right.
Oh, this is David's favorite event he was ever in. So let's go ahead and
Yeah,
go through
so-
these lists. David,
yeah,
you want to
so-
start?
Yeah, I want to start. So the 4-0 is Alet. He's playing, what's it called? Metalworker Shops. And the interesting thing is that he played the Mirror 3 times. So he played against other shop decks 3 times, including me and including Motolio. And he
Ooh.
crushed every single one of us. He crushed us. We never stood a chance. He just destroyed us. It was like, okay, I play a Seer, go. Okay, I play Metalworker, go. I play Hearthstone Golem, go. I reveal my hand and play Concede. Concede, yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
It was pretty lopsided. He just did that every time.
You know, one thing I'm surprised here that he doesn't run and you guys don't run. What the hell happened to the Tinker Boy?
I will get back to that later.
Okay.
We are now running Tinkerboy again. I mean, at least Motolio is. But yeah.
Well, it looks like...
I'm surprised this one doesn't run it as well. Slobby also criticized it.
Well, it looks like this guy, well, he also had a really interesting sideboard. Razormane Masticore's in there, Contagion Engine's in there for the Delver list. Wow.
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting choices.
That's cool. So next up, Josh, who we got? Dr. Light?
Dr. Light X, he is on another stacks list with the Forge Masters this time.
Well,
So pretty much the
The classic Motolio list.
classic Tolio list, except he has Volt Key in his list.
Yes, yeah. That's super
Which-
duper random,
that
but I
is
mean,
the most... Well,
definitely
I
not
guess he
good.
has the Forge Masters, though, so I can see it working.
he's
Yeah,
also playing a
except
budget
you
list.
usually
and-
have to find 2 pieces.
Yeah, he's also playing a budget list and not running Wasteland, but instead he's running Ghost Quarter,
Oh yeah.
which is probably
Fine.
yeah, which is probably
Ghost Quarter
fine.
destroys me.
I mean,
Yeah.
how many decks run more than 1 basic land? And if they run more than 1 basic land, Wasteland is, bad as well, right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
Well,
at least here you get the chance to destroy basic lands and lock them out under under a Crucible, which you can't do with regular shop decks.
Yeah, he has 3 Crucibles in his sideboard, so it makes even more sense because they just turn into strip mines.
Well, next up, we have, somebody who's considered one of the best players in the world playing my list. Not a big deal. But, hey, what I don't get is, and this is what we talked about, here's the quick change he made, by the way. He took -1 on Snapcaster Mage and went +1 on Dak Faden. And additionally, he added a Flusterstorm and took out a Abrupt Decay? This
think
is my
he took out Lane out of the void, and he added two
no. Well,
Ravens.
we're not to the sideboard yet. He totally
Oh.
screwed up the sideboard. I'm talking about the main deck. But yeah, let's go ahead and go there because he totally screwed up. Like his sideboard, I love you, dude, but it's bad. Like Elvish Spirit Guide, I'd love for anyone in the world to explain to me what the hell that does. What the hell that does?
It's a fucking endless weed joke.
Secondarily, why dismember? Why did you take out Leyline of the Void and add 2 Ravenous Traps? And why is Engineered Plague completely gone?
Don't ask me, bro. I'm not
Your most powerful sideboard card.
Whatever.
Instead, he runs 1 Illusion Rings, which we talked earlier about, and why it's worse than Engineered Plague.
Man, he's LSV, though. I'm sure he probably played Delver 4 rounds in a row and beat it every time.
Well, not in a tournament with a lot of stacks.
Yeah. Well, next up we have who, David?
It's the Jacob on Mentor, but he's, again, running an interesting take on Mentor.
Weird list.
He's running the full set of Moxes. He's running 1 Ingoture in the main deck. That's like, oh man, there are so many people in there who are on shops. I better play an Ingoture main deck.
It's a good plan, according to this event.
If that's your plan, though, why not just play something truly devastating and rock like a, what's the 3-mana enchantment?
Serenity?
Engineered Plague.
No. The one, they have to play 2 every turn for every artifact?
Oh, Energy
Energy
Flux,
Flux.
yeah. Energy Flux is way better Silver Bullet in that case, yeah. I'm also surprised he's running Rebuild. I've seen Rebuild earlier already, and I'm surprised. I mean, do people just play that for budget reasons? I mean, is it 20 takes for Horkul's Recall really that much to ask for? Or is it the cycling, or just return all artifacts to owner's hands so they can play them again? But I mean, on the other hand, 3 mana against shops it's another turn.
I think it's, using it for yourself too, and replaying your Moxen with the mentor.
Yeah, but you could do that with Horkul's as well. I mean, this one has cycling, so I guess if you're not up against shops, it might be a bit better.
True.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, you could always pitch it to Force, whichever one.
He's also running 2 Sudden Shock in the sideboard, just to make sure opposing mentors don't get a chance to grow big. Yeah.
Such garbage.
Perfect tech.
Next up, I'd love to hear from this guy himself.
Yeah, it's me on shops on
Tiny ones.
whatever, bro. The Terra Nova list.
Whose Terra Nova list is this?
Oh, it's Matolia's Terra Nova list. Well, no, that was before I made the changes and added some, what's it called? The 4-mana artifact that draws cards.
Oh, the
Oh,
one
yeah.
from VMA?
Yeah, the one from VMA. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting tournament for me and for Montolio as well. We were both 2-1 after I lost to
Islet.
to Ailid, and he lost to him in round 2, and we met in round 4, and yeah, what can I say? The Novus beat the Master, and he was proud that I finally beat him in his own domain, Bishop Mirror.
Yeah, he was really excited about it, if I remember.
And
He congratulated
I don't know,
you.
yeah,
And
he congratulated me after the tournament. He had the kindest words to me ever. I mean, he talked about Tails a lot, but I don't know, maybe it was some Freudian thing or whatever. And yeah, then he suddenly disappeared, and I guess now he's back, and
Have you
I guess
talked?
he's
Have you
he's-
talked to him since then?
I haven't talked to him since then, but I'm sure he's happy. He's happy that I finally got to beat him in Shop's Mirror, and now he can accept me as an amazing player. And it was actually quite a funny match because I lost the first game in pretty easy fashion. I mean, I mulliganed down to 6 or 5, and he had early threats. Game 2, on the other hand, was quite interesting because we both had Crucible of the Worlds and the 4-mana artifact, and from that point on, it's pretty much on whoever draws more Metamorphs is probably going to win the game. Of course, we both drew another Metamorph, and pretty much the same turn. So the game took forever, and was also playing a draft, and I was realizing that my time was getting low, and so I stopped doing the draft and just timed out there, and well, just went on to finish my match. And at some point, I don't know how, but Montolio got behind on time, and
So let me get this straight. I just want to get this from the top. So you were double queuing in
Yes.
another draft, and we all know that Montolio would never double queue. He only does
No.
one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Montolio, if I remember correctly, was a good 4 to 6 minutes ahead of you at one point. Is that correct?
yeah,
That's
he was.
correct. Okay. At some point, when David decided that he was going to concentrate, somehow the genius that is Montolio completely forgave that 4 to 6 minute advantage in the last 8 minutes. It was miraculous.
Yeah, the last minutes of the game were, I don't know, it was just about starting to time him out. I mean, at some point, he was just playing a Mox into his own chalice, and he even had to pay like 3 or 4 mana because we both had a couple of spheres in play. And
Why
when-
did he want to
when-
do that?
yeah, when the Mox was on the stack and the chalice stringer was on the stack, he started to tank for a couple of seconds, and that was the point when he get behind the time.
Wait.
And then
Why did he play a Mox into his own chalice?
I don't
Just
know.
to show you he had it?
Just to show me he
And
had it.
psych you out?
He then proceeded to play a couple of spheres and pass the turn. I don't know, I guess he just didn't want to discard cards. Maybe that would have taken more time. I can't really tell. And yeah, the match ended in just me, realizing my slight time advantage. And I was just hoping that playing a lot of Tangle Wires might time him out. And he did the favor to me and played even more Tangle Wires himself.
Okay.
And he couldn't manage all the triggers. And
Now,
I
how
don't-
many Tanglers were on the field? I think there were maybe 5 on the
at
field.
some point, we had 5 Tangle Wires on the field. Yes.
That's a nightmare.
Now,
That's
David,
my-
did you happen to record this series of plays?
I only recorded one series of plays, and that was when he started to play the Mox and then the Sears and started to go behind in time.
Okay. Well, if you have that, I'll link that in the article, and we can,
Yeah, of
we
course.
can show
Cool.
everybody.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Next up, we have who? Vinayan.
The 9. Another guy on Shops, another guy on Terra Nova.
Yeah.
He's also playing the Chorus
very
of
similar.
Portal. Yeah, very similar. He's also running 1 Urborg. I'm sure that's probably Montoyo's latest list.
Oh, yeah, you can't take that much damage off the triple dismember then.
Yeah, you can even use them ancient tombs the right way, huh? Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
That's an interesting
Kentucky.
addition.
Next up is there's really not too much to say on Terra Nova list. Next up is Turbo K, and you want to talk about a different list? What the hell is this?
Well, it's a good old-fashioned Hermit Druid
Druid
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, the card that is shifted to uncommon in Tempest Remastered, which is quite sad because this card used to be such a powerhouse. I mean, it's banned in Legacy, and I'm not really sure if it should stay banned because they're so effective graveyard hate, and everyone is running Lightning Bolt and Swords to Plowshares, and each deck is running counter spells and. Just constructing a deck with Hermit Druid where you have to play all these bad cards like Angel of Glory's Rise, Azami, Lady of Scrolls, and Narcomoeba, and just so many awkward draws. I don't think that it would be a consistent combo deck, or at least not more consistent than something like Show and Tell or Storm. I mean, just think of Storm. How many times do you get stormed out in turn 2 in Legacy?
Totally.
Yeah, but yeah, it's allowed in Vintage, and it rarely sees playing Vintage, but Turbo K decided to give it a try. And I guess it paid out for him, as he went 3-1.
Good job. for
And
him.
yeah, the deck works pretty straightforward. Hermit Druid says reveal cards from the top of the library, and then you reveal a basic land card, and put all other cards into your graveyard. Of course, this deck doesn't run any basic land, so you just mill your whole deck, get all the Narcomoebas,
Cabal
play
therapy then a
play
couple
Cabal Therapy,
times.
1 or 2 times, then Flashback Brand Return for Angel of Glory's Rise, get back Azami and Laboratory Maniac, and use Azami's ability, draw a card, and win the game.
Seems terrible.
It's
At least it gets around Sphere of, the one sphere from Lauren, Thorn of the Amethyst.
Yep.
Not
does
really.
So it's a combo that kind of get around that.
Well, it doesn't get around that with the
Not the
Dread
Dread
Return.
Return.
I guess the Dread Return doesn't get around that, so never mind.
Poor Dread Return. And there it
And
is.
last up here is Snap Keep
And here's a
on
David
the bug
list
deck.
with a Bob or a Bob bug list.
Yeah, but he also ran only 3 confident, which is weird. I mean,
This is what bothers me is when somebody only runs 3 missteps. I really
yeah,
get bothered by
3
that.
misstep, 3 confident. This list is just weird. I mean, he's not even running Treasure Cruise or Dig Through Time.
Can we all agree, outside of the stacks archetype, that Mental Misstep is probably the best, most important card in the format?
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually think a list like this is just the numbers are made up, probably.
I think the most interesting choice in his list is actually Gilded Drake, which is pretty cool, to be
Why?
honest. I mean,
No one plays Oath. Why is that cool?
well, I mean, it would be cool, of course, if people would play Oath.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna bring in some anti-red cards and hope that I play against some burn plays.
I guess you can also steal a mentor. I'm not sure how effective it proved to be for him. Whatever, dude. I can't really tell. I just think that it's an interesting addition. You can also steal the Blightsteel Colossus. So that's his out. And you can steal something against Chops. I mean, stealing something like a Steelhead Kite or a Wonkoil Engine is actually not the worst. And otherwise, this deck lacks answers to that, right?
Right. Well,
So yeah, while it may not be the most useful addition, I guess I can see it getting some use. Yeah.
in the next event, we got LSV 4-0 with something completely ridiculous. This is a deck that's like relying on Notion Thief and what?
Well, Notion Thief and Deck Faden, right?
Yeah, the combo. It
Well, I
is a
guess
devastating
Zach-
combo.
I guess Zach just had to mute himself because of his child. Oh, there he is again.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I just it's an awesome combo when you assemble it.
Honestly, dude, before seeing this list, I actually wanted to suggest that to you already to
What?
just try to build something around Deck Faden and Notion Thief. Play 3 Deck and 2 Thief, but I would still play Deathrite Shaman. Because if you play a combo that, you want to get a 3 mana card and a 4 mana card into play,
That's my
you
point.
definitely need a lot of red.
Well, and
Which
there's
this card-
no shortcuts to either one of those cards. Like, I mean, yeah, you got Moxes, but
Yeah, but that's
outside of
it.
that, there's no shortcuts to those cards. I mean, those are like, whoa.
Yeah, it's also
Whoa.
another deck.
Are
He's
the
playing.
artifact.
He's playing Voltaic Key with
Without
no
Time Vault.
top and no vault.
Yeah, that's a LSV style. He's just tricking people into it.
Just for the soul ring.
What the hell?
Well, it's for the situations in which you steal something with Deck Faden. Right?
No.
Okay.
Dude, it's fucking LSV! He's a fucking big troll. You know that, right? That's why he played every Spirit Guide. And that's why he plays fucking Voltaic in a deck without Time Vault. He's like, oh, I'm LSV, I'm just stealing it. And he does, and he wins with that. Dude, I'm sure he streamed that.
He is a
my
big
God.
troll.
Well, next up we have Cosperati. And Cosperati is playing the deck that has been most popular lately. However, this is the version, it looks like the Juggler version, with Tinker, Blightsteel, and the Vault Key combo.
Oh yeah, I remember earlier when we talked about Mentor and you talked about like it was super streamlined and no one would ever play but Jungle Resist.
No, I don't think that's what I said. But okay. I don't see it a lot. I think we can agree that it's not a common card in Mentor lists. But
Super common. See it happen here.
this is the Juggler's list. It looks like, I mean, yeah, it's definitely the
Yeah,
Juggler's list. It's
dude,
even running two
dude,
chases.
Dude, it's his list, yeah. And I think it's an interesting list and I'm already keen to net deck it.
Are you going to play this?
Yeah, maybe.
I'd like to see it. Do you have mentors?
Well, I would probably try to play a Force Misstep.
What the
Only runs 2
hell?
gas.
What is this next list?
Oh, it's a list from Unrestricted Gifts. What's his name on the mana drain? I think Brassman, like the card from Arabian Nights.
Cool.
And he's playing a Dabber deck with a Deathrite Shaman and Burning Wish to get, well, to get Shattering Spree or Grape Shot,
Or Time Walk?
Time Walk or Treasure Cruise. I mean, it's an interesting take to have Treasure Cruise or Time Walk more often when you need them, but you have to weaken your mana, and it's still a clunky card.
It's better to have more of it when it costs double?
Yeah, dude, this deck is just weird.
Yeah, that's bad.
But I mean, he still went 3-1 with it, so Winter
It's
just
not.
fucking ran it.
It's not as bad as this next list.
Oh, it's an
man.
Aratara Novice by.
But you have no gum.
Yeah,
What a
we already
professional.
talked about that earlier, and I think now I play Coercive Portal on my sideboard. Yes, I do.
That's good tech.
But
Next,
A
that's
regular
both.
Montoglio of
Yeah.
next up is
Zach's
David's
innovation.
number one nemesis, Bruno the numero uno.
And he's playing Narset Transcendent, which is the new Planeswalker Narset.
Well, I respect this list. He's playing balance. That's all you need to say.
He's also playing Back to Basics, and he's running the full set of 6 islands and 1 plains, just to make sure that not even a single strip mine could harm him.
Well, cool.
Pretty wild. Pretty wild.
It's a pretty wide and pretty cool list. It also runs 3 mana drain. I don't think that it's a good list, but I guess he took some people by surprise. Plus, he's running Consecrated Things, so if that enters the battlefield, the game is pretty much over for any deck.
Next up is Ecotech, who was running, looks like the Forge Master stacks. And yeah, it's not really much to go into here.
Yeah, it's interesting that he only runs 3 Sphere of Resistance and 3 Tanglewire.
Wire, yep.
But maybe he learned from Slobby.
Yep. Slavy's the best stacks player.
Slobby, aka Rafzan, is the best stacks player for anyone who doesn't know. Next up is Kamikolo. What's this? A mentor take? Is this a different
It's
one?
a mentor deck. Yeah, it's again a different mentor deck with all Moxes.
Does it have Tinker in it, David?
No, but it does have 4 mentor.
Just checking.
Finally,
Oh.
I think it's the first list with 4 mentor. The
Yeah,
previous
it's-
ones had 2 and 3.
Well, Chaim Kolo knows where it's at. He needs the 4th.
Well, the good news is we have Mentor again. I'm sure it'll have Tinker in the next one.
I'm surprised though. This deck is only running 2 Dig Through Time, but 1 Merchant Scroll. Why? Is it that much better to maybe skip your turn to get a Force of Will?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just think I don't know.
It seems to have also worked for Bish Coddler. Very
These
impressive.
guys are doing it wrong, I can tell you.
I think we're just going to call this Tinkerless Mentor.
Tinkerless Mentor.
Tinctor.
Tinctor?
That's when they do have a Tinker.
But yeah, it's pretty much the same list. as the
Tinkless
one
Tor.
above.
Agree. And who we got last here? Do we have old...
It's Miss
Miss
Cleek.
Cleek.
Yeah, Miss Cleek is also running 4 Mentors, but he's not running the Snapcaster Mage.
What about Tinker?
He's also running Fastbond. He's not running Tinker.
He's
but running-
Tinkless.
He's running Fastbond and Yawgmoth's Will.
Ooh.
Yep.
Spicy. Well, that's it for that event. Let's go ahead and hop into the next one. We're going to start going through these a little bit faster, guys, because we are lagging on time here. So this next event, it looks like we had David's other new best friend from last night, Waterfall. And Waterfall went 4-0 with a... Was this Karn Shops? What the hell is this?
It's Slobber Shops.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
Raft
Metalworker
Shops.
shops, right?
That's definitely a Ravsense list with the Chorus of Portal, Staff of Nin, 2 Karn. That's definitely a Ravsense list.
Yeah, I wonder if he made a new account and he's trolling us.
Probably.
Oh, dude, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, seriously.
Crying God is on a Forge Master list.
Interesting here because you got the 3 thorns and yeah, it's just kind of like a random mishmash, maybe.
Yeah, but that's been fairly common throughout time. Force sphere, sphere
Yeah,
storm.
a lot of people seem to cut a sphere. I don't really understand why. I mean, that's what the deck tries to do, right? I mean, sphere people out of playing spells. Why would you cut them? Please explain to me because I'm stupid. No,
So that
really,
way,
please. I want to hear a reason why you would ever cut a sphere. I mean, I can understand that if we had a meta game where people would play, I don't know, standard or modern decks like Zoo. What else? I mean, sure, it doesn't make Mentor more expensive, but it makes all the spells that Mentor needs to play
I'm
more
still
expensive.
waiting for one of these extreme geniuses to explain to me why Black Lotus isn't good enough in a deck just because you run 4 colorless versions that can only make artifact spells.
To be fair, Crying God is running White Lotus, and
He is, but you know what I mean.
and so was Morrowful.
You know what I mean.
But still, next we've got Yang Pizzy, or Peasy.
pissy.
I don't know. I don't know what he's running here. This is like old school.
This is like super duper old school.
Grixis.
He's even running Imperial Seal. I haven't seen that card ever.
I mean, not
Like-
only that,
like
he's playing red and blue and no deck.
Like ever.
3
Dude,
Js.
seriously, I remember when before Vintage
Perish!
Masters came out. Dude, I remember before Vintage Masters came out, and I bought an Imperial Seal, and I never played, and I'm sure it's still worth money, like 10 ticks or something.
I don't know.
I sold
just
it like
Yeah, the worst Imperial
before
tutor ever.
VMA came out, and I never have bothered to even buy it back.
It actually went up, but yeah, I think I sold it at 15 or something.
Well, next up is JC Doom on Forge Master Stacks, and there's really not a lot to go up there.
I told you guys there are only 2 decks, pretty much.
Next
that way.
up is another deck that is neither of those 2 decks. It's
Yeah,
BF
BF
is
is my homeboy.
And that is a weird name, and this is a weird deck. So great
Yeah,
job.
it's another old Grixis control list, even with what's it called? Where did I see it? Slice and Dice?
Was it Slice and D's?
I like Slice
Oh yeah,
and Dice.
it's in the sideboard. It's in the sideboard.
He's got one main.
Vishino Heretic too. Nice. Next up, we have another event to go through. We got who we got in this one? We got Buckburn82 coming in first place with a really random list. Is this Storm? Hardcore Storm?
Yeah, it's Storm pretty much.
Super strong.
Even Yogg
It's-
Bargain. That's a card you don't see ever.
Even 4 Dark Ritual, impossible.
Impossible.
How could he ever manage to 4-0 against against the Sea of Shops? I guess no one played Shops in a tournament.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
this particular event.
Look down the list. There's one finally, one idiot in 6th place. But yeah. Okay, let's go through this real quick. Next up, we have Dope Daffy at 3-1, and he was running a weird. This is one of the mishmash pishposh lists, right, Josh?
Well,
Yeah,
this is
the
pretty much
strategy.
just I think it's just quite a weird Dever list with a couple of, well, I can't really say innovations, but a couple of tests, like
A
one
couple of-
Snapcaster Mage and one Wasteland. But
And
I've
one
tried all the
grudge
cards
and
with
one
tests.
Pierce.
Yeah,
One waste.
never really
Just
worked
give
out.
him a try. Just give him a
Three
try.
Nullvard to the sideboard.
Yeah. Next up's your best friend again, new Bruno the Noom with old Narset. And
Yeah,
he's
the same list
3-1
as in
again.
the previous tournament.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Next up is Ken Shao. That's somebody I've never seen before, but it looks like he is running almost LSV's lists card for card.
Well,
He's
it's
got-
new blood too, yeah, and he's running the Grixis list but he's running the Time Wolf.
Yeah.
That's a good plan.
I think maybe he forgot it.
Next we
LSD
got
is known to be
Flash Hulk.
forgetful.
Another guy who tried out Narset Transcendent, this time in his Mentor shell.
Yeah?
And yeah, I mean, at least he's running 4 Gush, but again, he's also only running 2 Dig from Jam. Don't understand that.
Yeah. I don't really get it.
I would probably play the version of Mentor that has access to DAC rather than access to Narset.
Ooh, and next we've got Montolio on Terra Nova.
Yeah, but he's not worth talking about. Let's go to the next
Yeah.
event. Next up, we have... We go in Sizzler,
Sizzler.
who's obviously a better shop slayer because he's putting up 4-0 results.
And he's playing the Black Lotus.
And he's playing Black Lotus, which is obviously the right choice.
And
Again, the
Blightsteel.
Forge Master Shops list.
What the? Blightsteel. What the? I don't know about Blightsteel and Sundering Titan. That's like kind of overkill in my opinion. But hey,
Yeah, it pretty much is. Yeah, but
It's
it worked out
ambitious.
for him. So
good job. JCS 0140 playing Josh's favorite card, Tazarat.
There he is.
yeah, he's running the triumph raid of Planeswalkers, Deck Faden, Jace the Mind Sculptor, and Tezzeret the Seeker, but only one of each, which should make games quite random.
Really
So-
interesting. He's running 4 Seat of the Sign-In.
and two will take.
I'm not
He
sure
should,
what he's running
yeah,
for.
he should run one of the 4 mana Tezzerets, the blue-black one.
Yeah.
If he has such a high artifact count, and that's also another win condition. But yeah.
But I like it.
Wow, next we've got Samage with a dredge list. We haven't seen a dredge list in the last, how many tournaments? 2, 4, 6? Yeah, in 6 tournaments, this is the first dredge list we see.
Yeah, it just makes me think that people don't know how to play Dredge.
Yeah,
Right?
dredge is definitely underplayed for whatever reason, and I can't even say that it's a standard dredge list because it plays Unmask, a card that
Dude,
I rarely see.
Rending Volley is amazing.
What
Are
is
you
amazing?
kidding me? Rending Volley.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
What the hell?
He's also got his Nature's Claims main.
Yeah, I guess he wanted answers to Mentor.
He's got a lot of main hate. With
Oh, dude.
4 therapies, 4
He's got an
Unmasked, 3
Elish
Nature's
Norn,
Claim.
man.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
He really wants to win the Miro, yeah.
He wants to beat Delver.
And Dever. I mean, he's doing that with Dredge anyway. He doesn't need to reanimate an Elish Norn.
Next up, you have JD Phoenix, and JD Phoenix is on the. It looks like the LSV list.
Yeah, he's on the LSV list. Or maybe LSV was on the JD Phoenix list. I've seen JD Phoenix playing Grixis a lot in the past.
Possibly.
Yeah, LSV was on the JD Phoenix list.
It's not. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, otherwise people would say, "Oh, look, it's abstract. He's on LSV Perk list."
I know, that's what
I'm sure he would
agreeing
get
with you.
super pissed if someone would ever say that.
No one would ever say that because I own
Oh,
LSV.
I'm
All right.
sure. I'm
Next up, we have Dawson.
Oh, you missed Flash Hole.
Yeah, we have Flash Hook again, and he has the same deck as in the previous tournament.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well. All right.
But Dawson is also running a similar deck with 1 Narset, 2 Mentor, 2 Snapcaster Mage. I'm not sure if this works. He's also running a random Lightning Bolt, which I would suggest anyway to run a Mentor. I think 1 Lightning Bolt is better than a 3rd Swords to Plowshares, just because you can kill Planeswalkers and players. But he's also running Mystic Remora, which is a terrible card. Mystic Remora, people just play the card in a metagame that does not exist.
And
You know,
then,
I mean,
and then they just pay like 1,000 mana for it.
if
for no
everyone
reason.
was on Storm or something, it would be an amazing card. But right now, people are just like, okay, I'm playing my Revolker, I'm playing my Lodestone Golem, I'm playing my Dever, I'm playing my Mentor, I'm playing my Pyromancer, whatever.
Gotta agree.
Well, in this next event, it looks like we got Coops at 4-0, and Coops had a really interesting list. This is like nothing we've seen before. What is
It's
this?
closer to that wacky list that I played on.
Well, it's, I would call it WB, what's it called? WB,
23.
WBG, WBG H8. That's what I would call it. WBG H8.
Used to be a television channel for you guys. That reference probably didn't make sense to say WB23, but
But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool deck. I mean, I haven't seen Knight of the Reliquary in years, and it used to be a legacy staple, and
And you love that card.
I love that card, yeah.
It's really
It's
weird.
useless in Modern, and
it's a weird love for that card that you have.
yeah, it's
I
a
don't
weird
like
love
it.
for the card, but I don't know. I mean, you can grow it a couple of turns, disrupt your opponent with Wastelands and whatever, and then you got a pretty big deal out of it, so whatever.
Well,
I
he's
like
got
it.
he's got Mayor of Averbrook on the sideboard, so Josh should like that.
Ooh, Mirror, sweet, yeah. It's a card I like a lot as well.
Well, next up we have Autodidact, and he is on Delver, and this is not really anything exciting. This doesn't even look like it has very many innovations. This is a very generic list that he copy and pasted from.
Well, I mean, he's playing 4 Gash and 4 Dig Through Time, and he's running a Snapcaster Mage, so this deck is definitely clunky as hell.
Clunk Delver. Clover.
Yeah. Clever.
Next up we have something I don't even want to attempt to.
Yeah,
Explain.
it's the Brass Man, Unrestricted Gifts again, playing a deck with Bazaar of Baghdad that's not Dredge. And usually, if my opponent starts with a Bazaar of Baghdad, I'm super duper scared. But once they discard cards like Defense Grid or Deep Analysis, I know that up against a pile of poop, and I'm sure that's what this deck is.
It
Well,
looks that way, doesn't it?
next up, we have one of the writers on this site, and a nice young gentleman who's been making the rounds on Vintage. Nice to see him getting in the money. We have Island Swamp 3-1 and
Yeah.
with a mentor list.
Yeah, Island Swamp, 3-1 with the Mentor list, playing 4 Mentor, 1 Snapcaster, and otherwise just another generic Mentor list.
So he's
Only
a nice
two-
he's a nice guy. It's good to see new
Yeah,
blood
three-
getting in there.
3 Moxes, Lotus Petal, and Mana Crypt. But apparently no Sol Ring.
Switching lists. He's getting it done with more than one style list. So
Next up is Mazda 91, and Mazda 91 is running Pyromancer. I mean, this is really, really bare bones Pyromancer. He's playing a Pyromancer list like most people play a Mentor list with only 3 copies and nothing really supporting it.
Yeah, but he's playing the version with Fastbond. The one with Fastbond and maybe even Tendrils. He's playing Empty the Warrens.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's playing Empty the Warrens, yeah.
he has
Alright.
an engineered plague in the sideboard. He
He's a
can
good
kill his
one.
own boys.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. It's nice to see. Interesting list. Next up, we have Misclick, and Misclick again is running the Mentor list.
Of a surprise again, Sandcrab on Dredge. I don't think I've ever seen Sandcrab playing something different.
Have you
I
ever
know he's
seen
playing-
Sandcrab? I mean,
Dude, I can tell you, he's playing Vintage, Legacy, and Modern, at least. I don't know what he's playing Standard and what he's playing there, but
Dread.
in both Legacy and Vintage, he's playing Dread, and in Modern, he's playing Living End.
is he
which
good?
is-
Is he good with it?
I don't know.
How could you not be if that's all you do?
I'm sure you're better.
Next
Alright,
up,
well,
we have
obviously.
Next up, we have Crying God, and Crying God is on Delvermancer. And I don't think there's really anything special about this list, so I guess we should just skip on to the next one.
Dancer,
What's Dancer?
Delvermancer.
Delver Dancer. Last but not least, we have one more event to get through, and this has been a sea of events. I hope you guys are liking this extended content. We got Sean O starting 4-0, and
He's again playing a deck based around Notion Thief and Deck Phalan, but also with 3 Pyromancer.
really interesting.
You needed the power.
And he's playing Tinker.
Tinky Talky. Ain't nothing wrong with a Tink Talk.
The next one is Animal, and he is he's on a Mentor Tinkless list.
Tinkless Tour?
Yeah, but he's also playing 3 Deck and 1 Notion Thief.
He's playing Aegis of the Gods in his sideboard, okay?
Deck is definitely getting popular. I understand Refs and Slobby for complaining about Deck Phalan and how unfair the card is and it should have never been printed. And it's a spike to all shop players and whatever.
I'd like to, well, I'll say it real quick at the end. But next up we have De Dawson. And again, this is 3 times I've seen him with the Narset list money.
Yep, he's going for it.
It's weird that the number of Narsets has gone down each time.
Oh yeah, it
Interesting.
started two Narset, 2 Jays.
Yeah.
I've done a 1 Planeswalker.
Now we're doing, we go in Sizzler, and he has Forge Master stacks. Really nothing to go over there. Crying God on the... Looks like he went down a Notion Thief here. And
Yeah, he went.
Did he? I thought this was the same list.
I can't really tell. All these Mentor lists make my head. Whatever.
It's hard to keep track of all the mentors at this point.
Yeah.
Speaking of
The
which,
Mentor lists are all the same and not really. They differ in like 5.
Speaking of which,
cards.
David, what do we have next?
Mentor. But I think
Traveler.
it's also the last deck. So there's like a 50% penetration of Mentor, and the rest is divided by Grixis and.
How many
Shops?
stacks penetrations?
I mean,
are there?
we've seen more Grixis than Dever now.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And, you know, it's kind of sad what we're looking at right now. I think it's really like if you were going to put a percentage on the moneying lists, it would probably be like 60% Mentor, 25% Stacks, 10% Delver, and everything else. That's weird, you know?
Yep.
Well, the metagame shifts.
I remember what I was going to say. So before we leave, I'd like to make a prophecy, and it's something I've been talking about to David and Josh a lot, and that is, I believe that Dig Through Time is going to be restricted. And I believe if they do that, they also have to restrict something in shops. I just wonder if it's going to happen. My prediction is that Lodestone Golem and Dig Through Time are both going to be restricted.
I would rather say Chalice of the Void, but yeah.
I don't think Lodestone will be restricted.
I'm sure that people at Wizards of the Coast love shop decks. They love Lodestone Golem. They love people not playing spells because it makes them feel strong.
Like Portal?
Really? I mean, the most cheap way to ever win a game is like not have your opponent interact with you.
That's stupid.
But yeah, that's how Vintage works, and
Why would you want your opponent to play spells?
Why? I mean, it would just lead to complicated board states that you can't handle.
True.
And then you'd end up timing out.
Yeah. It's much more easy if all you do is tinker for the 7-11 Titan and destroy 3 or 4 lands, and yeah. Go on, Zach.
I will say that was a truly exciting episode today. David, I want to thank you for being on. We had so much extra fun and content with you on.
I'm sure, especially about the extra content, and I also want to thank you for the chance.
Well, we love you here, and you're always welcome. With that note,
deeper insight into some of the decks.
With that note, as always, we want to thank our hosts and our sponsors, puremtgo.com and mtgotraders.com. And, I'll see you guys next week.
Toodaloo.
See you.